60s. I can't believe it. I mean, I lived through the 60s, and now I am 60. So.
And you remember the 60s?
Oh, yes, I do. A lot of it.
A lot of it. Let's start with Blondie for a bit. Everybody knows you from that, and the name Blondie came from some guy on a New York street calling out after you or something. Is that right?
Yeah, something like that. Street noise.
Street noise. And I know male survival training teaches that I should never ask a woman about her hair, but would you have made it so big if you'd not been a blonde?
One never knows. I mean, it's the question, you know, do we have to ask that? I mean, it's like the egg or the chicken thing, isn't it?
Well, like brunetti wouldn't be quite such a, or redheady wouldn't be quite such a
well,
snappy
red
name.
could have worked.
But for you, has it always been the performing that's the core of it, or has it been the writing the songs? We'll get to your new album in a minute where you wrote most of it. So which comes first on that, chicken and egg?
Well, I think writing the songs comes first. You know, I mean, I get so much satisfaction from that. You know, coming up with something, it's sort of like working out a puzzle, and you know, it's really so completely satisfying when you know you've got something that you can really attach yourself to, and you know, that you can stand with. You know, that you could actually perform it and not feel like, oh God, what am I saying?
Let's take a look at a clip from Necessary Evil, your latest album, before we go on. That's you with the entire contents of some zoo somewhere, is it? It's,
Well, that was Rob Roth doing his animation, and I think it's beautiful. I love it.
Even the creepy crawlies? Even the creepy
crawlies.
Well, we'll get onto the new album in a minute. But when you started with Blondie, a woman fronting a rock band was kind of unusual. It's perhaps much more usual nowadays. Did it feel like you were breaking some kind of new ground?
Yes, definitely. I think I was warned to get out of town, actually, several times. Why don't you go into cabaret?
Oh, is that a woman's place is not in the kitchen, it's in cabaret?
It's in cabaret, right.
Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much.
But that seems kind of like the Middle Ages now, doesn't it? I mean, it was only 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It kind of washed over you, presumably.
Well, I you know, was firmly involved in what I was doing. It wasn't like I was just a front person being handed a piece of music. You know, I was identifying with my things and, you know, trying to proclaim something, I don't know. And, of course, my partner, Chris, you know, made it much easier for me. Having my partner and my boyfriend and my co-writer, you know, were just working together all the time, made it very easy for me.
Even so, when people outside say, you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing something else, there's a temptation, because it took you quite a while to make it. You must have thought at some point, we're not going to make it, maybe I should go into cabaret or something else.
No, I thought about it. I mean, those very thoughts came to me far too often.
Well, when you had to pay the rent?
Yeah, well, we were fortunate back then. The rents were very cheap, very low rent, so we managed to scrape by.
Tell us a bit about your background, because you, from what I read, it was a kind of middle-class existence in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Very middle-class upbringing. Went to public school, which is, you know, different than public school here.
It's ordinary state school, we would say.
Yeah, ordinary state school. And I don't know, decided, I don't know, I guess always knew that I wanted to move to the big city, and actually I wanted to be a beatnik.
A beatnik?
Yeah.
That was the summit of your aspiration. I read this great quote from you. You said, I wanted to be good, I wanted to be popular, I wanted to be known, and I wanted to turn people on. When is that mission accomplished?
Oof. God, who was she?
I don't know who she was, this woman. You were also adopted.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Did you spend a lot of time trying to figure out who you were and looking into your background and your natural parents? I
think I spent a lot of time, in theory, wondering, you know, who I was or what I was, what I had in me. But I didn't really spend any time looking for my parents.
I read also somewhere that you used to fantasize about being the daughter of Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah, well, I think that that sort of has taken a gigantic leap in everyone's minds because Marilyn is such a big image and it's such a big name, you know, and such a wonderful actor, you know. So um, I think I meant it in terms of, you know, being Blondie and, you know, doing the blonde thing and, you know, sort of being a, you know, homage, I guess, to Marilyn.
Right. You were a kind of spiritual daughter of
Yes,
Marilyn.
exactly.
You're not really the daughter of Marilyn Monroe, because if you are, you please tell us, and it would be quite a scoop for the
It'd be
program.
very nice, wouldn't it?
Okay, but
then I'd have to go after Universal or somebody, right?
what, to get some money back?
Yeah, right.
How hard was it at first? I mean, you said people said you should be in cabaret. I mean, how difficult was it? Did you make any money?
Oh no, we never made any money. We didn't make any money for a long time. We scraped by, you know, we sold pot, I made belt buckles, I was a hairdresser, you know, we did all kinds of things to pull it together.
I'm really interested because in this program we talked to a lot of people, authors and so on, who take years and years and years to make it, and then suddenly overnight sensation after 15 years, and it was kind of like that with you in a sense, wasn't it? Suddenly you did make it. At least that's how it seems to the outside world.
Yeah, I think when we were signed to a label, it gave us a sort of assurance that things were going to move ahead and that we'd be heard.
And what made it work was you and Chris Stein, your relationship in every sense, the creative relationship. Was that what drove Blondie, do you think?
Well, I think Chris and I started something together, and we worked with a lot of different musicians from the scene, and at one point we were sort of really broken down. I mean, we lost our drummer, our bass player decided to join television, and so we had to revamp everything, and that's when things really started happening for us, is when we put it together with Clem and Gary and Jimmy and came out with a fresh approach, and that's when it really started to click for us.
Did you know it was going to happen? I mean, did you know it was going to click?
No, I didn't at all. Chris did.
Really? He always had faith, and you...
Yeah. He said, oh, if you just keep doing it long enough, it'll work.
Now, that's very New York. Woody Allen said 99% of success is simply showing up. So you continue to show up.
Yeah. Well, see, Chris went to Midwood High School, which is where Woody went to high school. I don't think they knew each other, but it must have been something that Midwood told them. If you keep doing it, it'll work out.
Well, yeah, the other way of looking at it is it's banging your head against the brick wall for years and years and years.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Haven't done that.
Yeah. One of the great reviews I saw of you said that you enjoyed hit records and artistic credibility. That's not bad.
No, it's not bad at all.
Were both bits important to you? I mean, did you want a hit? You absolutely wanted the recognition, as you said. You wanted to be popular.
Well, I think if you go into, you know, into the record industry, you've got to really want to sell records. I mean, it becomes art and commerce. I mean, if you want to just make art, then that's what you should do. But if you really try to work into the, you know, that world where your art becomes commerce, you have to go for it.
Yeah, and you'd done Poor and Starving, so that wasn't quite the way.
Yeah. It was fun.
Well, up to a point.
Yeah, up to a point.
The money thing, though, I mean, it took you a very long time to make money. I mean, did you just sign bad deals, or what went wrong there?
We did get bad deals, actually. It's quite involved, you know. It was a management situation that went bad, and then you know, transferring to different labels, and you know, just sort of building up this debt, you know, because you know, everything that's advanced to you, you have to pay back.
Yeah, but it sounds like something from the 19th century, doesn't it? The company store, you're working for and the IRS, the tax people as well.
Yeah, it does work like that.
I mean, was it because, again, on the outside, this glamorous band everybody's heard of round the world, you seem to be making huge amounts of money, and really you weren't.
No, we weren't. We were selling a lot of records, but we weren't making a lot of money. It took a while for the money to start rolling our way, but then it did.
And then it did. So again, you're not going to plead poverty on the program.
No, I could, but
nobody
I don't know if anybody
believe you.
believe me.
Mark Armand of Soft Cell said during the 80s, where he spent £500,000 on drugs for himself, and I mean, I think industrial strength drugs. I mean, that was. I don't suppose you spent quite as much, but you've been quite open about talking about taking just about everything.
Yeah. Tried drugs.
And Inhaled?
Oh, I mean, I tried drugs. You know, whatever they were, I tried them. I think it was a little bit different, you know. In a way, we sort of came. I saw Age of Innocence on TV last night, and I don't know if it was on this network, but you know, I thought, oh, you know, really, that was an age of innocence because there wasn't so much known about drugs or AIDS or anything like that, and we just sort of went with what was going on, and we're making discoveries or, you know, live and learn kind of thing. So that was pretty much it.
Do you regret any of it now, looking back at it?
Of course, I do. I regret. I'd have to be inhuman not to have regrets. I don't try. I mean, I don't really want to dwell on them. I don't really want to. I push on, you know. It's just, you idiot.
Well, does it make you less creative? Because I mean, taking too many drugs.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's really highly individual. It's sort of like why some people, you know, have depression or get diabetes. I mean, I think it has to do with all of your body chemistry and who you are. It has nothing to do with, there's no one answer for that.
Right at least many of your fans would say, right at the top of your game in Blondie, you stopped because Chris got sick.
Yeah.
That must have been quite a tough period for everybody.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was more than just that. Our whole business structure fell apart. Management left, our record company closed. It was a whole bunch of things happening all at once. It really was an implosion and an explosion at the same time. So it wasn't just Chris being ill, it was all of that.
How did you cope with that? Because you helped nurse Chris through his illness. Yes?
What is it? Oh, what is that line? The nurse who puts salt in your wounds. Oh, yes.
Yeah, you know, somehow I had you more figured for Rock Chick than Earth Mother, but perhaps you were good at bringing chicken soup as well, were you?
I was okay. You know, I love Chris, and it was a terrible thing that he went through. You know, if it had been a friend, I think I would have treated him the same way.
One of the things I noticed about your recent album, quite a lot of the songs are quite dark, about relationships. Necessary Evil itself is with the title track.
Well, it's supposed to be funny.
Right. Well,
right.
there's yeah, I can see you know, the knife and the cake and various bits and pieces, but it's not laugh out loud funny, is it? It's kind of
oh no, it's like ooh,
relationship.
Oh, ow.
But I mean, do you when you're writing that, and it's not just that song. A number of the songs are about. Maybe it's just that happy relationships make bad songs, make bad art, because nobody cares about them. They care about unhappy relationships.
Well, there's nothing. I've never really had anything that simple in life. I mean, I think that life is very complicated, and if you can't have a laugh at it, even when it's disgusting, you know, I mean, that's the king of comedy, right?
Right. To be able to look at it and laugh at it.
Yeah.
And does it give you some distance from it to write about it musically as well?
I suppose, you know, I don't know if it gives me a distance from it, actually. I think it's just, as I said, it's very satisfying to, you know, complete those thoughts and put them to music and have it really work as a lyric. You know, it's very, very satisfying to me. It's a puzzle, and I love working on puzzles.
And how collaborative are you with that? When you get that bit of the puzzle done, when do you bring in other people? Because you were obviously collaborative at the start with Blondie, with Chris.
Right.
But not so much now.
Well, I worked very closely with my producers. They call themselves Super Buddha. That's Barb Morrison and Charlie Nealand. And they're both very talented musicians. And so I would come in with an idea or a spark of some sort, and, you know, we just work it up and try to record it.
So collaborative pretty much from the start. You come in with the idea and the spark, and what, some lines or some thoughts, or
lines, or a complete lyric, or a melody idea. You know, it varied on each song.
And how long did it take, the whole album?
Oh, well, I worked on it in between tours for about a year and a half. So there wasn't any really one set stretch of time until last February, when we knuckled down and nailed it all together.
Has there ever been a time when you've stopped either writing or performing? I mean, has it just been constant? Is it something you have to do? I don't mean financially. We've done the financial bit, but do you feel you have to do it?
I think so. I think so. It's if I'm not working, I feel, whoa, what am I? Oh, why am I living? Oh, you know, those thoughts.
So you have existential angst if you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, existential angst. That's me.
That's quite a snappy name for a song too. But I mean, do you find it easier as you get older or not? I mean.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, sure. I feel like I'm better at it. I hope I'm better at it. Yeah, I think it's definitely. Well, I know so much more. There's no way I could avoid not being better at it. I'd really have to be a vacuum.
Well, I mean, Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Modern times, reinventing himself constantly. I mean, you've done that over the years as well, haven't you? Written and rewritten and done different things at each time. Was that a conscious break with this album, did you think?
Well, I did want to make a difference between a Blondie album and a solo album. And I wanted to be very clear. And I think this is a much more minimal approach, not so many layers of sounds or music or instruments. It's just a simpler, kind of more direct rock sound, I think, a little edgier.
Did you think it was risky doing it? I mean, a solo album.
I don't know. If you don't take chances, that's what one of the songs about, the deep end. Don't be afraid of the deep end. Just, you know, how are you going to learn to swim if you don't jump in? I mean, that's a terrible suggestion to some people, you know, but I mean, you have to try. I think you really have to try.
When you perform now, what are the audiences like? Who comes to see you? What is it? Kids? Is it people who remember you the first time round? Or, I mean, what sort of audiences do you attract?
It's sort of like that, a combination of curiosity seekers and old friends, old fans. Blondie has always had a very wide demographic for some reason, and it's still continuing. It's really very, very nice. I did a signing in Dublin recently, and it was a great span of ages.
Why do you think that is? What was the spark of Blondie that kind of caught people?
I don't know. It was fun, you know. We were, you know, sort of peppy and up, and it sort of, you know, was easy listening in a way, with a sort of a dark undertone of you know, menace.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The menace. There's more menace now, though, isn't there, in the solo album?
Think?
I think there's quite a bit of menace, but I mean, maybe we're going to disagree about that. In terms of performance, do people want to hear the old stuff? Is that what they want to hear? They want to hear things from 20-something years ago.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people really come to hear the hits. You know, the Blondie shows. When I did the solo tour this past June, I didn't play any Blondie songs, and it was really startling. You know, it was so strange to be up there and be doing just my solo material, and to be on stage with three totally strange musicians that I'd never worked with before. It was a real, I don't know, it really made me very open. I just was sparky, you know, it was real sparky.
Well, there's a deep end as well, I suppose.
Yeah.
But people don't call out Heart of Glass, you know, I mean, do they? Did they?
Only at one show. Only one heckler. At least that's the only one that I heard.
Well, maybe the sound system was
in my favor. Thank you.
What? Just in the few minutes we've got left, I said that, you know, male survival instinct is never to talk about women's hair, is not to talk about age either. But I'm going to have to do this.
Uh-oh.
It's an ageist business, isn't it?
Oh yes, it is. But the world is like that. It's not just the music business. It's, I don't know. I always admired longevity, and it's a real personal attitude. I've always admired it. I've admired it in the blues artists and a lot of the, you know, jazz artists. You know, I thought, God, that's so great. You know, look how great they're playing, and it's just so there's so much there. You know, there's so much there. And I think that it's part of our world now, and I think that, you know, rock and roll has sort of come of age, and it has to. I mean, there's just no way around it. It's music for everyone, of all ages.
But you see, that's an interesting point. If I'd said to John Lee Hooker, what keeps you going, people would have thought, what's the point of that question? He's a blues man, he's expected to you're not a blues man, you're a woman, and therefore somehow the ageist questions become slightly more offensive?
Well, I think the age question for women is a very ancient question about reproduction. Basically, it's about sociology, and a woman's value in terms of, you know, survival was to be able to bring babies into the world, and after a certain age, you know, they're not bringing babies in the world.
So therefore the value has gone, apparently.
Yeah, or diminished.
Are you going to keep going?
I hope so.
Well, like the bunny in the battery commercials, on and on and on. But you don't,
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it, doesn't it? I mean, you show no signs of, I mean, what gets you up there? What gets you out in front of an audience? Why do you do it?
Oh, satisfaction, I suppose. Yeah, I want to entertain people. As a matter of fact, I used to always write that on my, you know, your entry card forms. They say occupation, and I would say entertainer. I wouldn't say musician or singer or model or actress or anything. I'd just say entertainer, and I really feel like that's the clue of it all, the jewel of it all.
What, to make people have fun? It's
Yeah.
not a bad aspiration.
Yeah.
What about the celebrity angle of it? I mean, do you have privacy?
Oh, I do. I have some privacy, yeah.
Because not everybody does.
No.
I mean, in your
no, but
position.
everybody, you know,
Well, how do you
everybody
manage it?
has comfort levels, and that's how they live. So, you know, that's what I've chosen. Certain artistic, you know, removal from it.
You deliberately cut yourself off? If you were in Manhattan, though, I mean, surely everybody, do they not recognise you, or have you?
Yeah.
You've got a brunette wig, haven't you? You walk around with a brunette wig.
No, I look pretty awful when I walk around the streets, and people go, ooh. They sort of,
She looks a bit like Deborah Harry, but
"Oh,
not quite.
Right. Well, that happens a lot. God, you really look like Deborah Harry. I say, yeah, I know. It works.
You don't object to any of it, though? You don't object to that? People coming up to you?
No, I'm flattered by it usually. I think it sort of depends on manners or, you know, attitude. You know, people are pretty nice to me.
Deborah Harry, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gavin.